This film is the creation of some 150 Canadians who, like their grandparents, volunteered for war, the Great War. Not to fight it, but to remember it in an unforgettable way. It begins with an ad.
CBC is recruiting descendants of those who fought the Great War for a massive reenactment. You'll be trained for battle before heading off for the trenches in Europe. Enlist now at cbc.ca/Great War.
The response is stunning. 6,500 apply from every corner of Canada, sending us photographs and letters, journals from the historic Battle of Vimy Ridge, videos of home.
I left from this spot here, and I can look behind me and see this amazing scenery we had. This is what John had left from.
The resemblance to grandfathers is sometimes startling. Having a special talent helps get you in. George Muggleton has the allure of being a piper, and to top it off, he discovers his grandfather's uniform fits to a T.
There's a rose that grows in no man's land.
Sandy Gow sings a great war ballad. To voyage to Europe and into the past, we picked 14 to follow in their grandparents' footsteps. We put them through a First World War training camp. They come to battlefields where their grandparents fought, to cemeteries where they are buried, to memorials where they are remembered. Then in Montreal, the final 150 descendants are chosen, trained, and become an army. To fight their first battle, they come to a meadow that harks back to the ground where the Canadians endured the first gas attack. They are joined by actors to play Sandy Gow's ancestor, Colonel John McCrae. Greg Kelly's great-grandfather, Canon Frederick Scott.
God be with you.
And Kate Sarsfield's relative, Talbot Papineau. Papineau's story unfolds in a remarkable series of letters. A charismatic captain's love of country, but also for a young sculptress he would never meet. A man who might have been prime minister, but who with thousands of others chooses a soldier's path to create a country.
Fire at will!
We supply an air force and real machine guns. We ask them to bring the Great War alive like it's never been done before. The saga of 325,000 who fought, a staggering 2/3 of whom are killed or wounded. And they did. The towering tribute at Vimy is serene and beautiful, but for the thousands of Canadians who have family buried here, the simple gravestone is more meaningful. As disturbing even now as the telegram must have been, declaring the death of my grandfather's younger brother. Adrian was 26. In northern Belgium, in the city of Ypres, at sunset, all the traffic is stopped through this ancient passage into the city, not just on Remembrance Day, but every night. Here at the Menin Gate, buglers lead a ceremony to honor soldiers of the British Empire killed in the Great War against Germany. Inscribed are the names of those who fought and died in Belgium, but whose bodies were never found. There are 6,940 Canadian names chiseled into these towering walls. It's an emotional moment for Kate Sarsfield. She's descended from a Canadian hero, Talbot Papineau. At the end of the ceremony, a British historian tells her that such is his admiration for the Canadian that he named one of his children after Papineau.
The thing about, to me, that's always interested me about Talbot Papineau is his letters. They are amongst the most poignant and detailed of any Canadian serviceman in the Great War. To me, they say more about the average soldier's experience at the front than just about anything else that I've read.
He had promised his mother that he would never sugarcoat anything that had been going on around him, and that he would always be very honest with her, and that he at least owed her that.
The worst day was May 8, and we had about 450 casualties. I had the man on each side of me killed.
From the front, almost daily, Papineau writes his mother Caroline and Bee Fox, a 25-year-old Philadelphia sculptress. Preserved in Canada's archives, the letters have a special power for war historians such as Lieutenant Colonel Roman Yaramovitz. Their value is in their immediacy, written not years later, but scribbled on the eve and aftermath of battles. They are filled with the power and eloquence of a Homer writing the Iliad.
This sounds romantic, but I think it's also genuine. Life is uncertain and very short, and a death with honor and distinction should be a source of pride. I think in many ways it sums up his life.
For Kate Sarsfield and 13 other descendants, the journey back in time starts with a bus ride into the English countryside, en route to a military training camp straight out of the Great War. Their initiation begins with a no-nonsense sergeant with the unmistakable accent of British authority.
Right, my name's Taff Gillingham. As far as you're concerned, that's Sergeant Gillingham. So if you ever address me, you address me as Sergeant, never Sir. This is Company Sergeant Major Pryor, who you will only ever address as Sir. This is the last few minutes of peace and tranquility you're going to get. Carry on.
Squad, form a straight line facing me on his left. Now. Quickly, quickly. Feet together, arms by his sides, feet down to approximately 45 degrees. Squad. Attain. Shut. Good. In something resembling an orderly fashion, go through that gate. Off you go.
Everything you've got, civvy, the whole lot, mobile phones, everything you're wearing goes in the bin bag. And I mean everything. 21st century disappears for the next couple of days. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corporal.
You're fine.
All wool, all the time.
That's it.
Does it scratch? Does it scratch?
It's not bad.
Yeah. I suspect I'm gonna be scratching.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Thompson is an Army captain, a veteran of peacekeeping missions. To absorb his grandfather's experience, here he's taken a reduction in rank to private to try and understand his grandfather's private hell.
For me, it's the whole journey is trying to understand my grandfather Dana better. Why did he come back after he was injured the first time?
There you go.
Second away, Corporal Lake.
As if we actually just stepped right into 1915, 16.
How is that called? It's corned beef. Be brave. Be brave.
That is brave.
Yeah.
You like your jam?
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I have to eat.
Nick Stanger is a vegetarian, a difficult choice in 1914.
Red stuff. Red stuff.
Serial number 3473.